So now you've realized that you need an app and you're not a software developer. What was the next thing you did?
What anybody would have done, looked for a software developer to come and build the product. I looked for a guy. He charged me millions in 2020. The guy came up with the first prototype. Very shitty. The money was not the biggest problem. It is the fact that my customers will be complaining by 2 p.m. and I'll not be able to reach him until like 2 days after. Because I will run after him. He will not even answer my call. I thought that I would learn how to code in 2 weeks, man, when I started. I know it took me almost 3 months, if not more. When I talk to other founders that have technical co-founders or that have head of engineering, and they tell me this feature took them 2 months to build, I'm like, my guys will talk about this thing on Friday. And by Saturday evening, I'll tell them on the group that, guys, you can test this thing now.
Thank you, Toby, for joining us. We are going to start shortly, but before we do that, can you just introduce yourself and let the audience meet you?
Thank you very much for having me. TechPoint. My name is Oluwatobi Odukoya, and I serve as the CEO and co-founder at CDK. At CDK, we say we are the Pay Small Small app. We make it easy for Africans, Nigerians today to own gadgets, appliances, cars, and more. We say using culturally aligned smart installments. But in some way, what that means is that we let you pay small, small at zero interest at the normal market price for any of these items. Earlier, he was trying to describe what CDK is. So CDK is, unlike buy now, pay later, we are more of a save to pay later platform. So if you wanted to buy a television that costs 120,000, for example, and you want to spread payments for 12 months, and you want to save your money for 12 months, for example, you would have to save 10,000 every month for 12 months before you become an owner. But with CDK, you can save 10,000 every month for 12 months. But by the sixth month, we will ship the television to you. If you were doing a 6 months plan, you do 20,000 for 6 months. By the third month, we will ship the television to you while you continue paying. So that's the idea for us. And we don't charge any form of interest. It is the market price at the time of shipping the item to you that you would pay. Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to the very early stages or very early days of CDK. How did you decide that you wanted to allow people to save to pay later? How did you come up with the idea?
Interesting. Long story. Where do we start from? So I went to AU Ife and the um, business for me started in Ife and it started with computer repair. I was in part one in school, getting all the A's. And I asked myself, Toby, what do you want to do with all of these A's? You've been getting A's since secondary school. I went to put a grade in Ife. And I finished as the best in my department then. We call it CMP. And I'm like, these people did not give me money for finishing as the best. What's the meaning of all of this? So I got into part one. I happened to stay in Fadjui, or anybody who knows OAU here. I stayed in Fadjui, and it meant that I was able to mix with a lot of final year students who, some of them were doing business. And I'm like, this guy is just like me. And he's doing business. He has a car. He's living a good life. If I finish school with the first class, what is the best thing I will get? I'll get a car and live a good life. This guy's already living a good life in school. So I started looking for problems that I could fix. Back at home, the only thing I learned how to do was aluminium work, glass work. And there's no way I can do that in school and make money. So in my hostel then, we had a lot of people that had computer repair problems where once the virus gets into your computer, you lose all of your files. Final year students would have to start their project all over again. So I used one of my roommates' computer to Google how to format a computer without losing files. And I found it. And that's how it started. I started pasting posters all around campus to say, come and format your computer or repair your computer without losing your files. And gradually, I did that, made a lot of money. Then my co-founder approached me. My co-founder today was my classmate in school. I was like, Toby, you have money. You have laptop. I don't have laptop. Give me laptop. I'll be paying you small. So I bought a laptop for DG. He's my co-founder today. And we were like, we can do this for our classmates too. We can do this for every other student on campus. So we bought more computers and started giving to people. But we realized that the business did not do well. It did not scale because people did not want to pay interest at all, at all. They would rather go and our classmates that know us would rather go and save their money. When they've saved the total sum of the computer, they will now come to us and buy. Why are you not using the installment plan? They're like, no, I cannot pay more than I cannot pay any extra fee. And we also had a Muslim community in school that we tried to sell into. They said it's against their religion to pay interest. So we're quick to see that this will not work. So the and I went back to our computer repair business, which eventually brought us to Lagos. Then 2020 came. Buy now, pay later was becoming a trend all over the world. And we just woke up and we are like, we've done this thing before now, but it failed. Why did it fail? And we started asking ourselves these questions. It was because people don't like to pay interest. And Nigerians also don't have a credit culture. We don't like to borrow money. I grew up with my parents telling me, don't borrow money, you'll save your money. My father will even tell you it's 90-10. Spend 10% of your salary, save 90%. So we started saying that we have a lot of savings products in the market and they are very successful. It means that people are saving towards owning these things. What can we do? Because we already do e-commerce, so aside from the computer repair business, we were doing e-commerce. We were quickly able to see how we can combine a form of savings and a form of credit to make it easy for people to own without charging an interest. And that's where the idea came from. And when the idea came, of course, I'll stop there. Building it now became a very big problem, but I will just leave you to.
Okay, so I think we can see the progression from or progression to when you got the idea, and just a few things, or I guess a few lessons that I think I can extract from that short story is one is you met your co-founder in school. A lot of people want to build businesses with co-founders, and then they go online and they're like, I need a co-founder who has experience in this. So he met his co-founder in school. And if you look at a lot of founders, they all met their co-founders either in school or they met their co-founders who were friends. I think I was talking to someone yesterday and he said he's known his co-founder for 20 years. Their mothers are best friends, and these are people they knew. So that's one. Last week, Josh mentioned that his co-founders at PiggyVest were all guys he went to school with. So yeah, that's one. Second lesson is how do the needs of your customers impact how you build your business? So you started with a business and you wanted to give people laptops, but they pay interest. And then everybody says, no, we don't want to pay interest. Some people who think that they are so smart and they can change the world would actually persist on forcing down that idea on the customer. And then customers, and you can't beat me to do what I don't want to do. And so your business dies a natural death. So I think it's very important to point that out. You have to listen to your customers. Either you shut down a business because they don't want it, or you evolve the idea of that business into something else. So yeah, I think that was important to point out. Second question I have is right now, how do you um, what after you got the idea, how did you now move from okay, let's help these people save in installments to like how did you build out the idea? Did you just go build out an app immediately, or was it a way you, because I know if I'm saving up, I need to deposit that money somewhere and you need to hold that money somewhere. So how did you go about that?
um, so even before we named it CDK, we
Sorry,
started.
what was the first name?
We did not even have a name for it.
Okay, fair
It
enough.
was just people that are our friends that want to buy laptops, that want to buy televisions. We just tell them, see, let's do it this way. You give me this money little by little. Once you've reached a certain threshold. So we did not determine or decide on 50% immediately when we launched CDK. When we started the idea, we just thought to ourselves that once you give us money up to a certain point, I remember that there's a particular guy that I like to always mention because he's our friend from Ife. We went to buy a television then. I think the television was around, it was 32 inches, 60,000 thereabouts. And it was on, I think it was paying for 6 months thereabouts. By the second month, he paid the next, I think it was 10,000 then. And we gave him the laptop. We gave him the television to own. And what that did for us, we had a lot of friends, people that we finished school with, customers of our old business, which is Computer Doctor. We are fixing computers for people. And what that did for us is we had met a lot of people that had needs to buy a computer, that had needs to buy a phone, that had needs to buy a laptop. And that was how we started. It was not until 2020 when we thought of building an app that we named it CDK. And yeah, I think that answers your question so that I don't jump.
Okay, so now you've realized that you need an app and you do not have, you're not a software developer. How did you, what was the next thing you did?
What anybody would have done, looked for a software developer to come and build the product. And yeah, that was the next thing I did. I looked for a guy. He charged me a lot of money
How
and
much?
millions in 2020.
Wow. And you,
And
wait, you had millions in 2020?
I was fixing computers,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of big customers. Many of the biggest companies in startups in Lagos today or in Nigeria today were my customers. So I was making a lot of money. And that was why I could even take the risk on CDK. And we paid the guy. The guy came up with the first prototype. Very shitty. But we pushed it out.
Do you want to name the person?
No, I cannot. I dare not. We pushed it out. Customers were using it like that. Customers would make payments. We would not be able to automatically confirm it. We have to manually go and confirm it. It was a lot of bugs. And what eventually happened was that each time we wanted to fix a bug or get an update, it was another set of millions. And we were quick to realize that. So I remember that day, I sat down and had a conversation. And we were like, this money that we are looking at, that we're supposed to use to deliver goods to customers, now this guy go collect everything. Oh. And that was when, and Deji knows that Toby would always learn anything. Back in school, I would not attend classes. I'll learn everything. I'll go and read the textbook myself. So Deji, he set me up. It was like, Toby, you can learn this thing. And I was like, yes, I can learn it. And that's how I started. I just went back to the drawing board. And I remember that before I even learned how to write software, we had told the guy that we are not paying you any money again. This prototype that you have given us, we will continue to hustle with it until we're able to build our own
Okay.
product. Yeah.
All right. So I would come back to how you decided, or like basically your process to go learn how to build your own app. But I want to know what your experience with that developer was. You've mentioned that there were a lot of bugs, and I think that usually when something like this happens, the fault comes from both parties. On one hand, you're not technical, right? The person is technical. The person probably, I mean, usually would not have your best interests at heart, but you're not technical. So what was your first, I don't know, is it product requirements that you wrote for the developer, and how did you communicate? Because I was talking to someone and he said one of the problems is non-technical founders do not know how to communicate what they want, and the developers also do not know how to communicate what they want. So what was that experience like for you?
So I so that's a tough one. I wouldn't say that we had thinking about it now, I wouldn't say we had a communication barrier.
Okay.
I would, and this is the fact that every founder needs to understand. The technical person has gone through a lot of process to become a technical person. And they would, of course, the money might have been too much then, but they would, of course, want to charge you for their service. It is not easy to build a software. They would want to charge you for the service. So I would not want to say it was a communication barrier.
Okay.
I would rather say with every first version of every app, there would always be bugs. And that is why I would always recommend that the founder should learn how to write software, or you must have a co-founder that knows how to write softwares. Because there will always be bugs. And you cannot be paying 200,000, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million to fix every bug. You end up using your whole profit to fix bugs. Yeah. So
So
that's
were you paying this 200K, 500K for every bug, or I don't know?
so hmm, it was so we had a monthly arrangement. A monthly arrangement where we'll pay him a particular sum of money to fix bugs. But when we want to add a feature, so when you start a product, you will not know you want to build this or you want to add this feature until customers say we should be able to do it like this. And you also can now say that there is this problem that's sorry. you can see that the problem that customers have is not exactly how you envisioned it. I know that one time we wanted to add bank transfers, and we were not able to add it because it was charging us a lot of money to add bank transfers. Now I know it's a simple thing, but of course, the technical guy is supposed to charge me for it. It is his knowledge. So I remember that we were like, we cannot maintain this money relationship because it will charge us. We had a monthly arrangement. Then we now add for every update, it will charge us for the updates. And I think the money was not even thinking about it now. The money was not the biggest problem. It is the fact that my customers will be complaining by 2 p.m. and I'll not be able to reach him until like 2 days after. Because I will run after him, he will not even answer my call. And I will not blame him. He has a primary job. My job is like, it's not even secondary, it's like tertiary job. So I will not blame him. So I remember that it was even more of the disappointment and not just the money. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I like how you're absolving him of some of the blame, because some people would probably blame everything on the developer. But yeah, I think I like that. So now you've decided you want to go learn how to code. What was that process like for you?
Interesting. I thought that I would learn how to write to code in 2 weeks, man. When I started,
So which YouTube tutorial did you see?
So I did not even. It was not a YouTube tutorial that I started with. So I first of all went to Code Academy. I think that website still exists.
Yeah.
And I learned JavaScript. And it was a very seamless process. See, when you're learning JavaScript on Code Academy, you would think you know everything. It's because it's so easy. When there's a real world problem out there to solve that, would almost kill you. And after Code Academy, I spoke to a friend, and the friend was like, Toby, if you want to build a website, a mobile app on Android and iOS, I think the best thing for you to learn is Flutter. And I went on Udemy. I found a course. In fact, I found a lot of courses. And I asked somebody, what did I ask somebody? And I think it was Dejiana that sat down. And we read the review of one Angela Yu's course. I don't know if anybody knows Angela Yu here. And Deji was like, this one sounds, don't mind me, they don't mind us. Deji will always push me and say, Toby, go on. He will be sleeping, I'll be writing software. And we're like, okay, we'll go for this course. And I thank God that we went for Angela Yu's course. And I watched the course. I learned how to write softwares, write Android app in Flutter, write iOS app in Flutter, build a website in Flutter. But that was not the end of it, because when I went back to try and write CDK, it was now all the things I learned. How do I start to join it together? Then I now had to go back to YouTube to go and watch people building apps. So I remember there's a particular guy named Santosh Enoch. He's on YouTube. He builds Flutter app live. He will build it and do the video. Okay. So I went back to watch Santosh Enoch's video. That's where he was building real life projects. And that helped me to eventually gain the experience that most technical people would have had to go and gain in companies by working on different projects. It was, it's sounding simple now, but I know it took me almost 3 months, if not more. And that's because I can be a very fast learner. And I think that's it. Up till today, I still watch YouTube tutorials. I still watch a lot of Udemy videos. And that's because you want to build a feature that you have not learned about. You have to go and watch video. And I think that most technical people would always go back to videos because something new would come out. Yeah. There will be an update that would make your app crash. And you would have to go back and rebuild and make it work. Yeah, so I think that you always watch YouTube videos. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to know, currently, do you have a CTO or do you have a head of engineering, or are you still doing that?
You're putting me on the spot. So I still write the major part of CDK software. Okay. So I have somebody on the team that works with me now, but he's not an head of engineering. Okay. I'm also not any head of engineering. Both of us are just winging it and writing softwares, and customers are using it. Yeah.
Okay, so now you know who to hold if the CDK app malfunctions.
Please hold me. Yeah, we'll go back and fix the bug.
Okay. So I'm curious, why haven't you hired like maybe a really experienced developer to come on the team and then take that burden off you?
Interesting. And this is a question I get a lot from people that are investors in CDK today. I think it is because software development at CDK is now like bread and butter to me. Um, when I talk to other founders that have technical co-founders or that have head of engineering, and they tell me this feature took them 2 months to build, I'm like, my guests will talk about this thing on Friday, and by Saturday evening, I'll tell them on the group that, guys, you can test this thing now. If I bring in an head of engineering that will charge me one, I'll have to pay a lot of money to bring in this person. The person will tell me to take 2 weeks to build. One, I did not want that stress. Two, it was also just easy for me to just write software. And I guess it's because I am the founder. I have so much zeal to solve the problem for the customers. And each time my team members say, we lack this, or customers are saying something about this, it's always easy for me to go back and just, maybe because I understand the whole code. If you call me today and you tell me that something is wrong with the app, even before I open my computer, I probably know what I did last week that scattered the app. So you can just imagine that when they talk about new features, I probably know that before I even pick up my computer, I just need to plug this, and this thing is live. And that's why one of the reasons why we've not had to. If Deji's here today and Deji will tell you to be writing the software. I don't want problem. And that's because if we eventually want to have an engineering team, it will not just be one person. Now I can single-handedly handle the whole platform end to end. But when we have to bring in somebody, one of them will tell you I am front end, and that's what I'm good at. You have to get a back end. You have to get a middle end. Uh, you have to, you have to get a product person. In fact, today at CDK, yes, we don't have DevOps. We don't have any of those things. We don't have a product manager. We don't have many of those things are things that we just do in house. And I guess that's why we're able to build CDK. Because if CDK was a startup where we had all of those long engineering barriers, when I say long, it means that features will take 2 weeks, 1 month to build, we will not have been able to move at the pace that we moved without having to run after a lot of investors for money. Yeah. And I think being a technical co-founder helped us to save, and up till today, being a technical CEO helps us to save a lot of money, a whole lot of money. And that's because there are many features or products that businesses pay for that we don't pay for. And that's because once I see that this is another $500 monthly, no, I'm going to build our own. Guys, don't worry, we are not paying for this. Our in-app call feature today, we were supposed to use a service that charges us. Like, guys, I cannot pay this money. It's dollars. Naira we are making money in Naira. We cannot be paying dollars like this. We went back to the drawing board. We built it. When we are going to build our inventory system, which is like the vendor management system, many people were saying we should buy a particular solution, that it is the best. But when we looked at the cost, we were like, no, we cannot be paying this amount of money. How much are we making? That we'll be paying this amount of money. So we went back to the drawing board and we were like, we are going to build this thing. And the truth of the matter is, the first version was nothing to write home about. But today it is very perfect. And that's just because of the fact that somebody on the team can know that there's a problem by 2 p.m. and these guys need to work by 4 p.m. and I'll sit down with it and build it. And somebody on the team understands that these nights we know we have a problem. Tomorrow morning we have to get back to work. I will not sleep. I recall that many times they wake me up by 2 a.m. because my support guys sometimes work overnight. And they will tell me that a customer just called though, that the app, the search system or something is not working. And I'll wake up, open I realize that there's something wrong truly. And that's because maybe I put an update before I went to sleep. From 2 a.m. to like 7 a.m., no sleep for the boy. I'll have to sit in front of my computer to get the problem fixed. So those are the kind of things that you would get to see. And that's why if we had a technical guy, the guy would probably have told me, I want to sleep. And the truth of the matter is that you will not blame people. They did not send you a message to go and die. And that's because being a founder is not like regular work. Regular work, you can close your computer and say, I am not going to work until tomorrow. Nobody should crucify you for it. But as a founder, when they drag you on Twitter, your head will be correct. You go back and you go and fix the bug. And that's exactly what it is for us. It's not, I would say, the soft. If I had the option today, I would say, you people should go and employ a CTO. Leave, you people should go and employ a CEO at CDK. Leave me as the CTO. And that's because I enjoy it a lot. It just gives you a lot of power to create and make things work. And each time you are done building a feature and it is now working perfectly, there is this joy that you have that I made this. Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, we can, like, if you have questions that you would like him to answer, you could just take them down, and then we take them shortly. We will soon get to the end of this conversation. But first, I want to say that the CDK app has improved a lot in the last 6 months. There's a better feel to it. So obviously your skills are getting better, because I know I used it like 2 years ago. I mean, you can clap for him. I used it like 2 years ago, and I know what it's like today. So obviously something has gotten better. So yeah, that's cool. But I I already know what your answer is going to be. You're probably going to say your recommendation is probably going to be one person should go learn how to code. But what if you were the only founder on the team? You didn't have a co-founder who could maybe take some of the responsibilities. Would you still go learn how to code and then juggle every other thing?
Oh, if I don't have the G, I don't know. I don't know, man. I know I would have learned how to write the software, and that's because it is the most expensive. Thinking about it, the most expensive role to hire for. I can hire an ops person easily and pay less than 1 million, and I'll get in 2020. I would have gotten a very good ops person for less than 1 million. But in 2020, it would have been difficult for me to build an engineering team for less than 1 million. That's because I have to get a couple of guys. Maybe one back end guy, one front end guy, and eventually maybe
When you're
around
a designer.
700, 800. If I UI UX designer. Mm, Funny enough, I had to pay a UI UX designer once to do the app prototype. But ever since that time, we joined it together, man.
Okay, so I mean, you probably go learn, but okay, fair enough.
So to answer your question, I would say it's always good to have a co-founder. It's not good to die alone. And that's because when you choose to be a founder, real founder, and you really want to do the work, it's a lot of hard work. It's not like your normal 9 to 5. It can be very emotionally draining. And if the only thing your co-founder does for you is tell you, Toby, don't worry, I am beside you. Toby, don't worry, we'll fix this. Toby, don't worry. We know that today was not a good day. Tomorrow will be good. And you know that this person is sharing as much burden as you are sharing about the business.
Mm,
It is good to have such a person on your side on the and that's what I feel my co-founder does for me the most.
mhm.
It is not because he's a great ops guy. I think it is more because he would always tell me, Toby, don't give up. Let us try this. Even though sometimes it is trap. Oh, he will go and sleep and I will not sleep. But I think that goes a long way for us. And I think that's why we work together a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, emotional support as a service. Okay, I don't know if you were like, did you ever try hiring getting a co-founder who would like take off that technical burden? Did you ever try that?
Yeah, early in the days, the guy that did the first version,
Yeah.
we tried to talk to him to be a co-founder, but he did not believe in the idea. And he was
Mm,
not the only one. Many people did not believe in the idea. They felt like you guys are deceiving yourself. This will not work. But we believed that it will work because
mm,
we had done the other one before and it failed. So it was not easy to convince him.
mm.
Today, I'm sure that he will probably look back and he would wish that I wish I'd answered Toby because it would have been worth it for us. Yeah. So I don't think
Do you think it could like? Do you think it's because you didn't sell your vision very well to him? I mean, those were very early days. You probably didn't have everything figured out, and with the benefit of hindsight, do you think you didn't sell the vision well enough?
um, maybe you can say that, but what I would say is that you cannot, I'm trying to say this in a very subtle way. You cannot sell what even you
You don't have the full picture.
don't have the full picture or understand. So when we launched CDK, when we built the first version, the journey felt like, Toby, and I know there's a way people will tell you this thing will fail. And that even you will start to feel like, let's do it. Even if it fails, it will fail. So both of us even felt like, even if it fails, we'll go back to computer repair, which was giving us enough money. Both of us, we are living we are making good money from computer repairs. And we just felt like, even if it fails, it fails. So when the guy said he was not interested, it was even difficult for us to tell him that this thing will turn to $1 billion startup one day. That's because even we were not sure that it will become so successful. And we're just like, okay, we are not interested. And Digi is he believes too much in me that I believe in myself. He will say, yeah, what is this guy? This guy does not have as much brain as you now. Toby, we can do this thing, forget this guy, don't be talking to him. And that's because I'll sometimes wake up and I'll tell Deji that, Deji, I've been calling this guy since morning. He did not answer. Deji will say, Toby, you are the one that want to kill yourself. Go and learn this thing. And I guess that was it
Why
for
didn't
me.
you go and learn it himself?
So Deji will not learn it. He will push me to learn it. And that's
I
because
mean, if you could get him on the call, I would like to find out why he didn't go learn and he
Deji will
wanted you
not
to go
learn
and
it.
learn.
It is not so. Deji knows my strengths, and in school I would go and learn and come and teach him. So he already know. He already
I hope he paid
understands.
part of his school fees to you.
I cannot answer that. But the fact is that we both play to our strengths. Deji knew that Toby is the guy that can go and learn anything by just reading a book or by watching tutorials, by watching videos. He knows that he probably still needs to ask a lot of questions before he figures it out. And that's
Very
why,
self-aware.
yeah. So I guess he just felt like, well, Toby, go and, he will always tell me, up to today, once we want to Toby, why are we paying for this thing? We can build it now. I'll be like, yeah, let me go and check it. And I'll come back and I'll show him that, Deji, it seems like we are getting this thing. So
And you're
that's,
basically validating what he said. So yeah, okay. I think I like that story because it's either you go hire someone or you do it yourself. And like you mentioned, you won't hire one person. You have to hire a team. If you're hiring one person, maybe you can just pay the person. But when you're hiring a team, that's a lot of money.
and I would say that if you want to build a startup for the long run, hiring is like the wrongest thing to do. You have to have somebody that will stay with you to the end of that business to build from day one. That's my advice. That's because there are a lot of things that if you don't know, you'll suffer for. There are keys that if you don't keep properly, you would have to restart your Android project. You will have to restart your iOS project. There are a lot of things that if you don't know, if you are not technical at all, if you are not a product manager, you will suffer for. So it's always good to have somebody, even if it is a young guy that does not know anything like me, to build with. It will be shitty at first, but as far as that person is willing to learn and fix the bugs and fix the problems, you guys will figure it out. So it's better to get a young guy that is just learning how to do it with you, and probably have somebody support him if possible, somebody much more senior. I did not have somebody senior to support me. And that's because I guess I was a bit smart. But even if it means getting somebody senior to support that young guy, it's always a very good idea to have somebody on your, because today, if I was not writing softwares at CDK, I die. Oh. In fact, we would have died. I want to believe CDK would have died. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so I don't know if anyone has questions because, okay, good. You have a few questions. So I would ask one more question before we take yours. You are at 500K downloads or over 500K downloads now, and you believe strongly in not hiring an engineering team. In 4 years, 5 years, you might have like 5 million, 10 million downloads. Do you think that you would still hold on to this? Because I don't know, building for 500K is different from building for 10 million. Do you still think you're going to be writing code 5 years from now?
So for us at CDK, very we make decisions based on the reality of the business. So when I say the reality of the business, what can we really afford to do? if we could afford to, of course, should I say it this way? Yes, if we could afford to hire an engineering team today, maybe we would have
Yeah, I've done
considered
that.
it.
Okay.
Or is the word we cannot afford? I think it is just a function of, I'm trying to think about it properly and give you a not non-political but still political answer. um, so we might. I'm trying to see why. I think it's just because Toby knows how to write softwares. We don't need it. We don't need an engineering team. And I would say that what it takes to build for 5 people, if you are building a tech company, is what it takes to build for 1 million people.
Mm,
What is going to be different is the operational requirement.
okay.
So what I mean by that again is that the same software that you write that 5 people would use is the same software that you would write that 5 million people will use. What you probably need to now start to work on are your servers, upgrading your servers, making things a bit faster. But for us that our business requires a bit of e-commerce operations, you now have to start doubling down on. So if we had less than 500K downloads today, the amount of work that I've had to put into CDK might have been the same amount of work. And that's because you build one software, it is good. 10 people can use it. It also means that 50 can use it. It also means 500 people can use it. It also means 1 million people can use it. So that's the idea for me. And that's the way I think about it. So if we had 2 million downloads today, maybe when that time comes, my team members, of course, I don't make this decision alone.
Yeah.
As much as DJ and I would come back and say, this is what we want to do, my team members at work might say, no, 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 no. We don't want you to do it again, Mr. Toby and DG. We need somebody else to do it. So we'll listen to them and see how we can. But today, I don't think that DJ and I are in a place where we want to look for a technical guy at all. That's because we are fine. We are fine. I'm fine writing the software.
Uh-huh.
I'm fine with the fact that when I'm writing the softwares, when I'm writing code and DG and there's something that needs to be done, DG can of course do it. If I have to write software today now and I cannot be here, you will see the sheet. You will just come and say, my name is Toby, or I am here today. I'm representing Toby, and that's the way we roll about some of these things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I mean, it's not a very political answer, but I think it's the right answer given your unique circumstances because, like you mentioned, you're building based on the reality of your business. I imagine that someone whose business is more tech driven would be, they may have a different opinion because I don't think Netflix, for example, which is primarily a tech product, it has, like without the tech, you can't use Netflix. But in your case, you could probably do some of your work without the tech, right? But I guess someone like that would maybe have a different opinion, or maybe even OpenAI, for example. Someone like that will have like an entirely different thoughts on that. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to add anything on that before?
Yeah, different things work for different
Companies,
companies.
yeah.
I am not in Netflix, but what I can say for CDK is there there's a need. So for if I was not a technical co-founder,
Mm.
and that's because there are companies that don't do as much as CDK does. They have a fully fledged engineering team,
Yeah.
and they would always say they need to hire this person to build this. I think why we are able to stay lean on the engineering side is because whatever we want to build, no matter how niched it sounds, where it's only one guy that should be able to build it, this is not a React developer team. This is not, you have some features that you want to build
Mm.
that you have to go and look for somebody that has experience building it to come and build it for you. I think we are able to do these things today because Toby would always go back and learn how to build it and build the shitty version, then eventually build the right version that is useful for everyone on the team. And I think that's it for us. We are at a place today where if I was not writing softwares, we will have a fully fledged engineering team of like 6, 7 people. Companies that are not doing as much as we are doing have a large engineering team.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's just because Toby write the softwares and he can learn anything. Yeah.
Okay, so if you have questions, I would start with those online. Sorry. Okay, so hello, I'm Destiny, head of growth at Autogon AI. My question is, what are the key areas that an early stage startup should focus on? Sorry, we are going to skip this question. Okay, your third question, Destiny, has been like that was just what he answered now. But the first two questions, like areas for an early stage startup should to focus on to drive organic growth. I don't. Do you want to take that question? It's kind of out of the scope of our discussion, but
I can take it.
all right.
So the question is areas to focus on to drive organic growth.
Yes.
It's simple. Customers. Listen to customer A, make customer A happy. Make the customer so happy that customer will go back to work the next day. And the only thing the customer can talk about is you. Yeah, and I think that's it for me. There are people in this room that will call me and they'll be like, sorry to do. I say, disturb me, please. That is my job. So make the customer so happy that you will get the customer to get back to work the next day and talk about you. Customer will get to talk church and the customer will want to share a testimony. And the customer will say, thank God, I'm able to buy a television because of CDK by marketing you. And listen to your customer a lot. And I think that's the only thing that we do at CDK. Just listen to the customers. I'm always on Twitter searching CDK. Who has yapped us today? What did we do wrong? Okay, we have done this wrong. What can we go back to do to fix it? Yeah. Just listen to your customers every way possible. Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. So, questions. Will you please help me with the mic?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mayowa. So, I like the fact that you have acknowledged that you are a super smart person, right? You can write your own code, and you can always go back to the drawing board to write, code. Let's assume I'm Deji. I'm not Toby, right? And I don't have a Toby as a friend, right? I need somebody that will go and tell, oh yeah, go and learn this thing, and you will learn it. I'm not the type of person that want to learn technical code,
Don't put
right?
me in trouble. Don't put me in trouble. Deji smart oh.
but Deji has not learned to code. It's Toby that has learned to code. Now, I am Deji. What advice will you give me if I want to build a product that is technical? I've not met you. I don't know you. I'm just, somebody that wants to build.
So to
I'm
give
not
like
technical.
the political
Right.
So
question.
I would answer him now.
Okay.
My second question,
Okay.
my second question is not really in the scope of this. I want to know how you make money as a company. Thank you.
Okay. So the first thing I will tell you is find a guy like Toby. Everybody would have met a guy like Toby. Whether in school, it can be as far back as secondary school, that you know that is willing to hustle with you. If you don't find one, if Deji does not have me, Deji would have learned how to write software. That's the truth. I know that when the only option you have is to do it, it will be done. And that's the way I like, that's the approach that both of us give to everything that we have to do. If I am not available to write software today at CDK, Deji would have learned it. It might have taken him a bit more time. He might have had to probably go to somebody to say, how did you do this? Come and show me. But I know that he would have done everything within his power to solve that problem and be a software developer too. Yeah.
Okay. Second question.
Did I answer your question? The truth of the matter is that you have to find somebody or do it yourself. Finding somebody can be tricky, and that's because you have to give the person equity. It's a marriage, and you are careful, you are afraid. I'm able to do CDK with Deji because I know that if both of us die with idea, so you have to find somebody like that. You get what I mean? But if you cannot find, my brother, even Deji will learn. Do you understand what I mean? To your second question, how do we make money? Easy. We partner with top most distributors who sell to us at a discounted price. In summary, when we sell to you for a particular amount, we eventually buy for lesser than that. Or when we sell a lot of units, at the end of the month, we get a particular amount of rebates from the distributor. Yeah.
All right. So here's a question.
My question is, so if you found a startup without any technical abilities in the co-founding team, do you believe that hampers your chances at success generally? Do you believe having a non-technical co-founding team hampers your chances at success generally as a startup?
Wow, we call different things startup now, but it depends on the type of business you are building. But if your business requires a website that is a product, you get what I mean? There can be websites, and there's a website that is a product. You can imagine that Gigi as a website is a product. Um, you would have higher chances of success with a technical co-founder on your side, or at least a technical person, whether co-founder or not, on your side that is not going to jackpot because they've offered him $100,000. And that's because that's the truth. If you have a technical co-founder that is just in because of the money, there is no amount of money that you can pay that somebody somewhere would not be able to offer more. Do you understand what I mean? So it's always good to have somebody who is not in it for just the salary on your end. It would increase your chances of being successful. If I was not writing software, I like to say it, we go don't die. CDK would not be alive today. Yeah.
Okay, Bolu.
My name is Rashida. So my question is, at what point did you realize that you needed investors? At what point did you welcome them? Did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you? What convinced them to invest in CDK?
Interesting. Hmm. So before we launched CDK, we're fixing computers for the likes of Paystack, Flutterwave. And you go to these companies, what you see is a lot of I would like to I don't want to use the word excellence in the workspace or in the work environment, but it's close to that. And you realize that it is not because these companies are making money. It is because someone somewhere has believed so much in the team to give them money to have a good life while us hustling. Now, let me give you the contrast. The contrast is that DJ and I were business guys, spending our own money, using our own money to build stuffs. And now you have the other parts of the other people who, of course, yes, now this product is not popular. People are not using this thing, but they have money and they are paying themselves good money. You go to their office, you can see like 10 cars parked outside. So what that means is that, so there is this thing called startup, and there are these people called investors. So from early days at CDK, we've always had a mindset that we'll talk to investors. But what now happened was that we spoke to investors, and all of them told us that they cannot invest and that this thing will not work. And we had to go back to the drawing board, and we asked ourselves, Deji. I said Deji. Deji said Toby. Do we think this thing will work? And both of us felt like even if it does not work, we have something to fall back on that will give us enough money. And we just went out to build it. And what now happened was that eventually investors would come to us. And that's where CDK is today. We are not in a place where we run after investors. We are in a place where, and that's the kind of business we are trying to build, where investors would come and say, what you guys are doing is so good. Everybody is using you, but you're not making as much noise. What is going on? Can I give you money? Can I invest in you? And that's the place that we are in. I remember that at a point in CDK, people will come and tell us, are you not raising money? I'm like, I beg, I'm not raising money. But you always have investors send you emails, reach out to you on Twitter and say, please, where are you? When are you raising? I like your product. I like what you are building. I like what you are doing. Yeah. And how did we get to Techstars? It was just, in fact, we had applied to Toronto. And can I say this? I remember that somebody there told us that we have to do buy now, pay later. And that's what we should do. And it was, for me, and that's the way I would, because we had done CDK to a point where we can now see that this is the solution in Nigeria, in Africa. it was easy for me to just say, I beg, pack your load and go. And that's because we can see that even without investors, even without investments, we'll be able to build this to a very big scale. Do you understand what I mean? So when Techstars Nigeria came, we're like, maybe these people have the same problem that we have. They are not white people. They are not Onyibos. They would understand when we say Nigerians have a culture of savings and not a credit culture. And I guess that's what exactly happened with Techstars Lagos. Because it was easy for us for them to see that, I can really, I'm sure that I can recall that while we were chatting with them, they were able to relate very much with the solution that we are building and why installment payments in Nigeria needs to be different from what Klarna does. And Klarna is a very big installment payment business in the US, all over the world. And they were able to see it. And that's why today I would always say we should always have, as much as there's Techstars all over the world, we should always have investors with local context, which is what Techstars Lagos does now. They help us to build businesses that are our own businesses and not just copycats of what exists in the US and in other developed worlds because our problems are different. Our education level is different. And I tell every founder, please, from day one, make money. Because as much as possible, you might imagine that you'll get an investor, and if you don't get, you must be able to build that business or maybe just close it down and go and look for work. Yeah, that's the truth.
Okay, thank you for that. So, I mean, this is probably cliche to say, but I just want to point something out. You could go back to just fixing computers, and a lot of people don't have a fallback option. I'm a very risk averse person, and every single time I've thought about starting a business, what I've always told myself is I need a fallback option. But I saw this tweet by Asimota a few days ago, and he was saying Silicon Valley sold us a dream that anybody could get invested, like you could get an investment, but the numbers do not support it. The backgrounds of the founders do not support it. A lot of them have they have fallback options. Like you could go back to a business where that was already successful. Um, Piggyverse co-founder mentioned that they were already doing a few other things, and they didn't need a lot of money, so they had some cushion as well. I think it was 2 months or 3 months ago when Wella Health's founder also mentioned that he could always return to, I can't remember where he lived, but he could always leave Nigeria because he was a doctor practicing outside. So it just seems like there's a common thread. Everybody has a fallback option, even though you do not see that they have a fallback option, right? But a lot of founders want to, straight out of school, go build something. And unfortunately, your father is not that good that you can always fall back on. So yeah, I think it's just important to point that out. Startups or businesses in general is really not for everybody. If you don't have a fallback option, then maybe you should not do it. So
Yeah, just to add to that, I can say that starting business for me in school, living is, of course, I still finished well from IFE. I got chemical engineering. My co-founder got chemical engineering. So, was a very big risk. All of my friends told me, Toby, you don't want a job in Shell. Not many of us are working in Shell. All of them have jackpot to go and look for greener pasture in the US. I had a friend then, Taufik. We were always studying together, a very smart guy. Taufik was like, Toby, I'm not your friend again. You want to start a business and not focus on academics? So it was a risk. And there's something I always tell Deji that I can never be poor. What's come to us, I'll go and drive down full. And that's the mentality I have. I will take that risk. Whatever wants to happen should happen. Now, person they drive down for, and I am rugged. I will drive down for. I will make money and go back and do something better with my life. So that's the mentality for me, and I think that's the way some founders or most founders are. You always know that you can never be poor, you can never be broke because you see a lot of problems around you that need solution. Today, if I was not building CDK, there are a lot of problems to solve. I have more than 10 other small products that I have used my free time out at CDK to build today. Small products that, in fact, one of them, we are trying to push it. So what I'm saying in essence is that an entrepreneur is always
it's
an
always an
entrepreneur
entrepreneur.
and will never I don't think an entrepreneur will go broke. They sell granite now. Who sells sugar? I can start with less than 10,000. I will start. I'll turn it to 11,000, turn it to 12,000. And that's the mentality for me. That's the way I think about this every time. Yeah.
All right. So I think we have a balanced view there. You either have a fallback option or you be ready to rugged it out. So I think we are moving over. Sorry, I'll come back to those of us over here. Bolu, where are you? Okay. Yes. So okay.
Okay, so what I have is not so much a question as it is a very quick comment. Personally, I'm a founder, right? And I've been running my startup for 2 years now. And we've just recently pivoted to something else because the first product we built, we found that we were in a terrible market. So I'm the founder that's not a technical founder. I've tried to learn coding since 2018, and to this day, it still makes me sleepy. I promise you. Several people have come to teach me how to code. I've hired some friends, black, white, Mexican, anyone, before I came back to Nigeria. I still was sleeping every session.
You can hire Toby.
In fact, you don't.
I've hired very, very, very good people.
You don't even need to hire me. Just go to Udemy, buy Angela use course.
I've used Code Academy.
Have you used Angela use course?
Both Angela and Angel, all of them. The point I'm trying to make really is I'm that founder that has tried to learn how to code with all my heart and soul. My brother, it's not for me. It's not for me. So, it's not for me. There's nothing.
Sorry, just maybe I'll interrupt you. Yeah, you've tried, right? So how have you? You say you're still building your startup, right?
I'm still building it.
Okay, so how have you? Since you've tried, it didn't work. How are you building your startup?
I've always had a team from day one.
Okay.
So, just like you mentioned, last you will go drive down for. Last, as an entrepreneur, find a way to make money. If it's to beg, be an expert in begging people to give you money to support your startup. Yeah? If it's to sell something, figure out what to sell just to support your startup, right? So I think this is just a different perspective, though. And I've been able to keep building. And even at last, I had to propose to my product designer. I'm going to marry her later this year. I'm being honest, though.
Yeah. So I respect that. I respect that
She's a
for
fine
real.
girl. She's single. I'm single also. I want to marry. We'll marry end of this year.
No, that makes perfect
that
sense.
one is not going to leave me.
It's true.
I'm just being real. I'm being real. We're all startups here.
Yeah.
We're startups here, so I'm being real with you. So, just what I want to say is very simple. If you cannot afford to code like me,
Go marry a
tried.
Marry someone.
Marry somebody.
Yeah. Based advice.
Okay, that's just a joke. That's just a joke. The point is, you can't find a way to find people that at least that can support you. Whether you beg them to stay until you're able to pay them, or they stay, they buy into the vision, they're not getting paid for nothing, but there's a promise of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Thank you so much.
Marry someone.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Bukola. So, following what he actually said, not everybody will be able to learn to code. As smart as you are, there are some areas that there's nothing you can do. It's not your way. It's not your calling. So I share in his own story because coding can never be for me. I've tried everything I could.
Have you tried positive affirmations?
You said?
Have you tried positive affirmations?
Both.
Positive affirmation. Every morning you.
See, there's no point going back to all those. And that's it. So, and like you said, he was lucky to have Deji. My brother here said, what if he cannot get Deji? What is Deji? He cannot get Toby or something. So he has a different perspective, and he was also lucky to have someone who he can propose to. What if you're already married? And there's no option to be able to even propose to that. So there will always be
Maybe
different there always be different situation for different people. However, if you are really a business person, you will always find a way around it. What I see as a major challenge in collaborating in this space is about understanding how do you really find that co-founder that will stay with you. That is a major issue. What brought me here today is with the topic is about how do you
How to build a technical
a
without
startup without a technical skills.
yeah.
And I believe that this is a major problem for a lot of entrepreneurs who have good startup idea and who has fallen into hands of a lot of developers that will never deliver. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is what I think we've not been really able to bring out today.
Okay.
And
So-
that is really important. But
Okay.
before you move on, I have some few questions I wanted to ask that have been asked and have been pretty answered well. So there are other options whereby probably you can hire development companies. You know, you're not hiring an individual now. You are outsourcing your product to a development company. What is your position about that? I know the upfront cost might be high, but what are the risks in going through that route? Sorry, the last one is that having a technical co-founder, what's the difference between that and having a CTO? Thank you.
Okay. What's the first question again?
What's your opinion on dev shops? Basically,
Okay. It depends on if the dev shop would stay around enough for the lifetime of your business, or if they would be able to hand over everything required properly for you to move to the next dev shop when you need to move or if you need to move. And I think number two, which is most important, is you would need to have a very deep pocket to engage dev shops. It is not cheap. And most of us choose to learn or look for a technical person to learn or write the software because day one is €0 that we are making. There's no money to pay anybody. The only option you have is to either learn or find somebody that can do it. So I would totally understand if you have a deep pocket to hire the right person to do the job for you. And if that person is truthful and sincere enough to hand over to you properly, because I know a lot of startups that had to go back to the drawing board. In fact, there's a very popular one that is not even a startup, a very big company in Nigeria that had to rebuild the whole system because people that rebuilt the old one were not able to hand over properly. So if you understand what I mean, that building tech, from my experience today, is not just about building. In fact, starting to build is like the simplest thing. Continuing to build and pushing updates, pushing new features is like the hardest thing. And that's because you will look for your key and you will not find it because you were not the one that wrote the software. Do you understand what I mean, sir?
okay. So just to add, I get that you want to have a clear roadmap on how do I go from an idea to a startup. But we've covered a number of solutions. One, like you said, go learn how to code. But not everybody wants to do it or can do it. The second option is you go find a technical co-founder. Well, yeah, you go look for a technical co-founder who can take that burden off you. And that's an entirely different conversation. We've sort of covered
Let me
it.
say something. Sorry.
Okay.
So I know somebody like you that said and I will not name that person. That person is quite, maybe not so popular, but some people, I'm sure that at least one person in this room will know the person. That said, I can never learn how to code. I can never know. And that's because that person has tried a lot of courses. I think that there's this magic that Angela Yu does that helps you to, and that's because that's what I used. I was lucky to use it. And I've also asked a number of people to use our course, and they are writing softwares today. In fact, I cannot say that. I don't want to say it. But what I am telling you in essence is that there are teachers and there are teachers. And we all need to understand that a guy can be very bad in mathematics and a particular teacher will just get transferred to the school and the guy will be so good in mathematics. And I think that's the way life is. It is who you are learning from. It is how you are learning. It is who is teaching you. I think there is this magic that Angela Yu does that helped me to learn how to write softwares. Maybe
So
if I
maybe
had
you
used-
can try. Yeah, I mean, you can try the course and see what works. Yes, you've tried a lot of other things, but maybe just one more. It can't be as bad as you say it is. Really, you can just try one more. So yeah, like I said, there are I've covered two options. Go find a technical co-founder, or you go hire a dev shop. And like you mentioned, it's ridiculously expensive. You would spend a lot of money, and there's also no guarantee that you get what you want. The fourth is that you go hire someone on your team, or like you said, hire an entire team. Do you have the money for that? So really, I think it's about looking at where you are, right? Where are you today? If you have $1 million in the bank, you probably can put together an engineering team. But if you do not have $1 million, your options get very limited. And for a lot of people, that's the situation you find yourself in. So it is basically you looking at where am I today? What can I possibly do? Which is what he has mentioned. He said for CDK, they make decisions based on where they are in the business. If he had more money, he may have decided to build a team. So I think it's just important to clear that up. If you have your resources, sort of determine what you do. Flutterwave is not going to be sitting around, or GB will not be sitting around thinking about React. He has the money to go do that, but you're not GB. You don't have the money, right? So those are. Well, okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, if you do not have the money, your options get narrowed significantly. So yeah, I think so. We can't take all the questions, and for equity, we are going to take a question from a lady. Yeah, I know you are a lady.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to make references to some of the things some of the participants have said. First of all, I'm a co-founder in the company. And before I joined, the founder is more of a business person. The second co-founder is a CTO. I have a PhD. And before then, I used to be a software developer. Then I pivoted to becoming a project manager. Now I'm just like a doctor, right? And all of that. But what am I driving at? That's one of the reasons why they decided that I should join them as a co-founder. And I worked as a developer. So hearing everything you're saying, I understand where you're coming from and why you might not want to have a developer. But I'm at a point in life where I have a lot of friends that have startups now, right? And they reach out to me and they're like, oh, I'm starting up a company. I do not know how to write code. I need developers. And most of them do not have fundings to pay developers. So what I've told most of my friends, more than 20 to 15 friends that have startup, is I introduce them to people, developers that I know that are just starting out, that are ready to volunteer, right? So these developers come work with you. My friends that are startup founders always promise them that once they start making money from investors, they will pay them. So before the investor money comes, what they do is, because most of these founders maybe have been working and saved up some money, at the end of 6 months, they can pay these guys for the period they've worked. That's the hack. And that's why most of my friends, like, so I'm sorry to
Sorry,
say,
how many of your friends have raised money?
I have up to like 10 friends that have raised money, and I have several friends that have startups.
Can we talk later so that I can tell you what the secret is? And the
So-
reason I bring that up is your position is valid,
Yeah.
but the majority of people do not raise money. No matter
Yes,
how good you are,
true.
no matter how smart you are, you would not raise money. It's that simple.
Yes.
So if you make a promise to me, that is hinged on raising money, you are going to end up in Kirikiri because police will come and carry you.
Yeah, I get your point. I think what we're trying to hack here is, or what everyone's concern here is, how do we get past getting someone that can help them build their application or help them build their product? And I understand that there are different courses, but for someone like me that's a PhD holder, I can categorically tell you that just because you read a course or used a course to study, someone else uses to study and will not understand because our IQs are different. How we respond and how we listen are different. It doesn't mean they are less intelligent or they are less smart. It's just the way it is. I know of a tech founder that dropped out from 3 universities, and this guy at 18, he has a startup that is worth a lot in this Nigeria. I know a 21-year-old boy that makes 5 million naira every month. So what am I trying to say in essence? Where we find ourselves are different. What we get out of lives are different. So the only fastest hack to get past all of this is get people that are either ready to volunteer and think about it categorically. Can I, at the end of 6 months, give these people stipend that can help them for that period? That is
You
if they are
also need to,
interns.
you
That's
also
if they
need
are
to find
interns. So
someone
if
that
you
will
have
not
an
take money for
intern,
6 months.
that means you have a CTO or a senior developer. So what
Who
the
you're
hack
paying,
here
right?
is, yes, the hack here is instead of paying a team of developers, you're paying just one person that has critical knowledge. What's that person doing? These developers write code. The senior person is merging the code, doing git pull, git push, doing all of those things for you, right? And you're paying the person because the person has more years of experience and the person knows how workplace is. The person is committed to helping that thing grow. So that's why, like I said, most of my friends reach out to me. So it is about knowing who can help you do that. Then you get that. Or I know of people that reach out to maybe interns from Decagon or any of these community. Those are the other things. And I tell them, always join tech community spaces so that you can have access to more people that know more things. So that's another thing. So once either you have a co-founder that is a technical person, or you have a CTO, or your co-founder can also be a CTO. Once you have one senior developer, and then you just get interns or people that volunteer, depending on your pockets at that point in time. But what I'm trying to say is you can pay one person to help these developers get you what you want. But if you are waiting for a founder or a co-founder that is not technical to learn coding, it might never happen, and then your vision dies. Now the question is, and what we should always understand is you have to sacrifice something for what you want, for the life you want, for what you envision for yourself. I have a lot of friends that want me to join their startup. I'm like, I can't be everywhere at the same time. And I keep introducing them to people either as developers or whatever roles they want. So I think that speaks to most of what we are saying. And then I heard when you spoke about you don't have a team of people, you just you and your co-founder. And then I
No,
was
he
trying
has a
to,
team.
I meant like product manager and those kind of roles. I understand that you're trying to operate a lean business, but I'm trying to understand from the perspective of the investors, because I've spoken to a lot of investors and I know they would always say, we want to be certain that you have almost all real positions filled because they don't want excuses for why something is not working at the end of the day. So when you come across investors like that say they want to be sure that you have those positions filled and you do not have them filled, how do you go past that? That's one thing. And then secondly, you mentioned that even if you were to have your company have 5 million users, you're still going to keep developing it yourself. I understand that you're going to work on the server part, the infrastructure part, and all of that. But I just believe that once there's resources for that, you should make provision for that. That's the only way you can move from a small, medium business to a large enterprise, depending on the vision for your business. I think those are my concerns and questions. Thanks.
Okay, so I think we can take one question, which is the investor part. So here's the thing, right? we have 49 minutes now for Pitch Friday, and we can't take all the questions. So if enough people indicate interest, we'll do maybe a 3-hour webinar that covers all of this. Sorry, I'm committing to this, yeah. If enough people indicate interest, we will do a webinar because 1 hour is not enough to trash out all the questions or all the objections you have. So if you have enough people, there would be a QR code on the screen later on. If you are interested, like it's a QR code to join the WhatsApp community. if you have enough people, at least 15 people who say they're interested, you do a 3-hour webinar, and then you get like someone who is technical, someone who isn't technical. Yeah, I think Toby, can I drag you into that? We'll decide that later. But we'll definitely do something like that. So yeah, you would see the QR code. If you have enough interest, we'll do that. That's the problem, is because I can still see like 10 hands up, and we really can't take all your questions. So let's just take the last question.
So the investor question. 20, or better still, we are in 2024. But you also need to know that we passed 2023, where investors were looking for business that had very good unit economics, and that were able to do, and that are able to do a whole lot with less. So we did not have as much friction when we were trying to raise last year, asking, we did not have as much investors asking us all of these questions. And you also need to realize that investors are going to ask you all of these questions because they want to be sure that it is working and it will continue to work. And when they see that you guys have it figured out, and you can actually show them that you have it figured out. So the questions they would ask you, they probably bring in a technical person on the interview, and they ask you a lot of technical questions. And when you answer them and you show them how, despite the fact that other companies they've spoken with tend to describe it as a lot of work, and you show them how you have been able to simplify it using a lot of tools. And that's why I would say, I don't want to mention the name again, try it. And you will come to see that most of the so-called big tasks in tech, there are actually a lot of facts. There are really a lot of hacks that can help you to avoid DevOps, that can help you to avoid a lot of, there's something called material design, where you don't have to start running after a UI UX person every time. You can probably just, I don't want to say it. But what I am saying in essence is that there are lots of hacks. And when you are also a profitable business, you will not care when investors say no. Because some investors will say no because you don't have a product manager. But when you go back to the drawing board and you look at it, are you building your business for, or you are building it to actually be a profitable business and do very well? So those are the questions that you ask yourself. So when investors say no to you for what you believe in, the investor is not your investor. That's the truth. And back to the question of, or you also made a point around 5 million users. I did not say I would still continue to write this. In fact, today, I am willing to not write the software and give the job to other engineers. But what we also need to understand is, you want to ask yourself, what do we need the most at this point? There are other roles to be filled. There are other things to channel our resources into than to look for an engineer, because it's not a problem. The software will write it. We'll talk about it on Friday. Saturday, the picture is live. It's not a problem for my team. We have other problems that we are trying to solve for. And that's so if we get to 1 million downloads today, and we don't deceive ourselves, like I told you earlier, it's the reality. Toby can no longer handle this thing. We can afford to bring in a guy. We bring in a guy that will come and handle it. But what I am saying in essence is that I've seen many startups spend a lot of money to say they are bringing a DevOps guy, bring in this other guy. There are a lot of ways that you can do these things without having to employ all of these people that will charge you 500K, 800K, 1 million, 0.5 million on a monthly basis. I can tell you, if you check out, I don't want to mention the name, you will see that you can actually build a lot of these things without that DevOps guy, without many of those people. And I don't want to, I'm trying not to mention a lot of, mention the sections in text so that people will not come and drag me that I'm spoiling. But what I'm saying in essence is that there are corners, there are things that you can do that will really help you to solve these problems without having to worry about those roles. Yeah.
All right. So, like I mentioned, we can't cover everything that you want to know today. So, we could always do something like at a later date. So, thank you so much, Toby, for this. Has been a very insightful session, I believe, and you've probably gotten something that you could take away with you. So yeah, thank you so much to Toby for joining us. I think we just take a picture and then we'll continue. Okay, thank you.